Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of our magical season bird table page. We are going to be doing starting with this branch today. So I'm going to grab my sort of darkest brown that I'm going to use for the sort of dark area. Oops. I'm going to use the walnut brown. I'm going to try and use different browns to the ones I use for the birds. And I'm just going to make a start really in colouring the areas that are marked really dark on here, and then we'll add another brown after. There's snow on here as well, and we'll try not to go into the snow with my brown, but if I do, I do. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's got lovely sort of piney bits on here, pine cones as well, so it's a lot of fun. Now I want the pine cones to be this colour and to be really dark, so I'll do those as well. Just checking under the snow because I'm and this branch here I'm going to do as well in the same colour. So I'm just going over those bits that are marked a little bit darker. I'm not worrying about being hugely exact, but just the best I can. Now the pine cones, I'm going to sharpen up the pencil. Actually no, I'm not. I'm going to just go over the areas that are marked darker. And fade it across. Like that. Now we're going to do slightly lighter colour. I think we'll grab this one. This is the Van Dyke brown. I'll go back to our branches to start with. Colour over that dark area. And then just do a lighter bit here. So hopefully we can start to see the different areas of the branch where it should be light and dark. Now because we're using such a dark colour, we're not seeing these lines showing through. You can draw some back in if you want to. There's a bit of branch up here that I forgot. I'm sure we can just do it with this. That's snow, we'll leave that. Basically I want some brown on every bit now. And I'm hoping we can sort of add a bit of shape and texture as well by using the markings that are on here as a guide. There's a denty bit there. Line there, so if we just draw in some of the lines and things that are on here, it helps. So really just going over those darker bits. So if you don't have any Christmas colouring books, I know some people don't, you can always make images look Christmassy. So if you had an image a bit like this, obviously if you don't have this book you don't have this exact image, but if you have one with sort of trees, birds, pine cones, whatever, quite autumnal, you can always just colour it up and then add some snow with a white pen, just dot it on where the snow would fall. If you look at this picture for guidance, you can see where the snow is marked. Obviously it would stick to the tops of the branches and things like that. So that is a way to just, or add some glitter for snow or frost. That can be another way. We're going to come back and do those pine cones in a minute. I'm just going to get all of the branches done. This is why I haven't zoomed in, because I'm dotting about all over the page. I hope it's okay for you. But yeah, so there are ways of, I don't know why there isn't any snow here. I guess it's protected a bit by the bird table. There are ways of making your sort of non-wintry pictures, and like I've done, you may have seen it, a book where it was a mandala book, and I just did one in red and green, you know, in seasonal sort of colours, and that can be fun. Or, you know, you can just get out your glitter pens. Red and green aren't necessarily the only Christmas colours, it's just me. I like red and green. I did my tree this year in red. So the lights are very warm, goldy coloured lights, and I put the tinsel on. And we're going to do this now. What I'm going to do is just then move across to the other side with a gentler touch. Normally I just put all my decorations on, but what I did was once we put on the sort of goldy coloured lights and the gold tinsel, it looked so pretty. I just put on all my red decorations. I do have a lot of red decorations, so my tree hasn't got anything like as many decorations. It's still fun looking through them all and thinking about who gave me what, but I just kept it a bit different. Okay, I'm sharpening my pencil so that I can colour the end of each of the individual bits of the pine cone a little bit darker, to make them stand out a little bit. I have to be aware that as I go down and to the left on this one, for example, they get lighter, so I need to layer it up more on this side that I'm working on at the moment. As I come across, I won't need as many layers. It just helps show up the definition in the pine cone a little bit, which I like. So just seeing what time it is. Someone's going downstairs. I wondered if it was lunchtime. They must just be getting a drink or a snack. It's not lunchtime yet. It's only 10:30. I didn't think it was. Thought let's just check. There we go. Now we want to do the greenery. What should we use? I'm quite fancying the juniper green. I think that might work. So juniper green, and I'm just going to try to layer it up a bit more in the areas that are marked as darker. So I'm not going to use several shades. Keeps it a bit easier within these really small areas. It's a bit tricky, but do make sure that you do layer it up more in the darker areas, because up here with this lighter one, we want it to show up as lighter, so we need to make sure that under here it is darker. That should be okay. And just working through, it's nice and simple and relaxing when you've got a lot that's the same, once you've worked out what you're going to do. Now you can go over with another colour to burnish it a bit more, but I'm happy with it as it is. I don't really want it any darker. So I'll carry on. I think, yeah, I think it'll do well. I think that's one there though that I missed. Well, I don't even need to think about whether the ones underneath are going to be a bit lighter or darker, because the grayscaling on here, it tells me. So it's rather fun, really, not having to think about that all the time. It just, yeah, I don't think it's for everyone. I think some people would prefer to just do their own thing, and to some extent you can anyway, but I think it's quite helpful. Helps you get your confidence up with knowing where to put light and shade, and you still got quite a lot of leeway because it's quite a pale grey. If you use a pencil that isn't so transparent, you might not see it through anyway. I think that's what I'm going to do in some, like, I coloured in the Thanksgiving picture and there was a butternut squash, and I coloured it in a really light colour, and you could actually see the grey through, rather than it looking like it was just shadow, it actually looked grey. I think for bits like that I might use a less transparent pencil, so it sort of hides, masks the grey a little bit. But most of the time I think it's really good. I mean, I could have just picked a darker colour and not done it as a butternut squash, but I sort of, you know, once you've decided what you want to do, you just sort of want to go for it. Oh, I must remember, I've got to go to the church this week. In town there's a Christmas tree exhibition in the church. I like to go each year. I could see if my friend wants to come with me actually. Right, so there is our fur bits, I don't know. We've got these Christmas trees in the background now. I'm going to work on those. Now I want them, there's quite a contrast between dark and light, and I think the very light is going to be snow. So I'm actually going to start with the pine green and do the dark areas where it's really shadowy with the pine green, but slightly fade it so where the shadow gets lighter I'm going to still put some in, but just not as dark. So have a look at where there's like cross hatching as well as shading in there, because we might find that this is the only colour we need. Let's see how it sort of looks at the end really. Because the white, as I say, the white is just snow, so I could just leave it. I'm sorry, I've just got to wipe my nose again. I'm just going to go back in and make sure I've covered all the areas I want to cover, because then I can make this the only layer. I'm changing up a few bits that are white and putting some colour in there. There we go. Now under here, it's a little bit more tricky to quite see. We've got this bow getting in our way, but I'm going to do these very dark areas first. There's a little bit there. I think that will be okay. You can see better here. See, I don't know whether these bits I've done green are just supposed to be dark as snow, but I think it works out well with the green. So basically, where it's really dark, where we can't see a defined bit of tree, so we're sort of doing a background dark bit, and it's marked darker, I'm putting down lots of layers. And then where we've got a lighter bit, I'm putting down a few less layers, and I'm hoping that's going to give us a nice effect with minimal effort. which is always good. Well, not always, but can be fun. Okay, yep. Just checking before I move on. I find that it's important for me to do that personally, because once I move on from an area, it's very unlikely I'll go back unless it looks really awful, which it doesn't normally. So if I check bit by bit as I go, just to make sure, or else I might just leave a bit that should be done. So with the snow on the trees, you could, I think I'm just going to leave it white, but you could go over it with white pencil. You could go over it with some glitter. You could have used a little bit of blue in areas where it's darker, but I'm really happy with that effect for me personally. So. Right, our bird table. I want to try and use slightly different colours to what I used for the birds and for the stick, because obviously we don't want it looking identical. I am thinking that I might use this sort of burnt sienna colour, which is a bit more of a orangey brown, and we haven't used it yet. And I'm going to go over all the really dark areas with this, and then use a slightly lighter colour for the other areas. Just coming down under there. I don't know if that's supposed to be snow. I think it's supposed to be a little bit of wood showing through. So it's be much darker under here because it's underneath the it's under, so there's shadow. You can see here we've got some shadow too. A little bit there. So it helps you think. I mean, it's quite a good idea while you're doing this. Think about why is there shadow here? You know, this bit here is not hitting the light, so it's very shadowy. This bit has a few bits of shadow, and a bit here from this overlap of this little fancy bit. So if you think it through, it helps you learn from this, because you know, you might be happy always doing grayscale, which is absolutely fine, but you might not. You might want to learn and do some yourself. This bit in the bottom is really tricky. I'm trying to figure out quite which bits are wood and which bits seed, particularly here. This bit's obviously wood. But here we have bits of seed. I think I'll just do it like that. Yeah, so if you have a little think and figure it out, that will sort of help you. So that's extra dark because presumably this bit's sticking out a little bit. Now, of course, you don't have to do it all in the same wood look, but I just fancied doing that because we've used a lot of browns already. I sort of used up a lot of my options, and I think it'll look more coherent, but you can change it up and do the different parts in different colour woods. You can do them as if it's painted as well, so as if it's coloured, not just wood, varnished wood, but sort of painted wood. So that's that one, and I'm going to then use my brown ochre with it to finish it off. So I'm going to go back over all the areas, tidy it up really, and fill in the gaps, as it were. Now, I'm very aware that some areas are much lighter than others, so I'm trying to portray that by doing different amounts of layering. So here this bit's dark, but in the centre here it's quite white, so we don't want loads of colour. We don't want to leave any white. We can leave white paper showing through, but we don't want to leave it completely white because there's no shine. I mean, even if it was varnished, it's unlikely to be really shiny. So we'll leave the shine for these and these, because our I think these might be like drawing pins, so might have a bit of a shine. So we'll do that in a bit. So although this is dark, I'm just going over it a little bit. It helps it blend in with the lighter shade and sort of tidies it up a little bit, which can be good. Might want to do that little trim bit a different colour, but I'm just going to keep it all the same. Got a little bit in there, quite dark. Yeah, it's Sunday today, and I had thought that maybe I would pop into town, but it's a little bit tight on a Sunday because the shops are only open from 11 till 3, and at 2 o'clock I do Skype, and at 12 o'clock we have lunch. So trying to, I mean, I could take lunch with me, but I like family meal times are really important, I think, particularly at the weekend when everybody's here. And yeah, so, but some of the shops that I like to go to don't open very early in the morning. And I don't know about you, I find that once I sit down and I start getting on with things in the morning, I don't want to go out. I'm sort of done. I'm sort of focused, and there's always something to do. So I'm always, once I sit and I'm at my computer or at my colouring or at my recording, I'm just doing, and I don't then go out. So it's tricky. And tomorrow I've got workmen in. I don't really want to go out because I want to make sure they know what they're doing. It sounds really rude. Of course they know what they're doing. I mean, you know, make sure they do everything I want them to do. I thought earlier of a little extra job I wanted them to do. Now I can't remember what it was. So I need to get that sorted out in my head. So, but it will be lovely if they do come and get everything finished. But as I say, I'm not holding out any hope. I'm just concentrating and checking that I haven't missed any, but I think we're done with the table. I'm going to do the bird seed, and I'm going to use this colour, this light yellow ochre. I'm going to go over all of it just in a sort of fairly even colouring of it, but where the grey shows through I don't really like it on a yellow, so I'm going to try and layer it up a lot on those greyer areas and hope that's better. Yeah, it does look better, but I just didn't want the seed to be sort of brown because we've got so much brown going on. Thankfully this will work. So say just layer it up until it's to your pleasing, really. I'm going to layer it all a bit more. I quite like this sort of colour. It looks quite goldish, like they're being spoilt with a really special seed because it's Christmas. What do you think? It's a lot of food, isn't it? Just thinking, wow. Now these stockings, I'm wondering if that stuff inside them is also seed. So I'm actually going to colour it in the same colour. I don't know what those those three things are. Like they're twigs or something. Anyway, have a think. Just doing that so I remember what colour I did them. Now, we have these pins, which I mentioned before, and there's one there as well. I'm actually going to grab my green gold and do them as if they're gold. I like the idea of a warmer colour. Oops. So this, as I say, this is the green gold. It's quite a good one for using for gold. Just leave a bit of white at the top. And it looks quite like gold, I think. Where's the other one there? That's it. It's really simple because I'm trying to fit gold in that little space. Ooh, difficult. Okay, now how are we doing for time? 25 minutes. Let's do our sort of string that's hanging and this bit. Sort of twine, don't we? Twine colour. And it hasn't really got, let's use the green gold again, as if it's a sort of gold coloured ribbon. It hasn't got any shading on it, but I'm thinking I want to make it a bit darker at each end, so I'm just going to layer it up at each end and then make it a bit lighter in the middle, so that it looks like it's maybe a sort of shiny ribbon. And the same on this one, because especially as it's bent round this branch, that bit's closer to us. There. Now you have them on here, these are just string, but we'll do this one with the same. It's a bit darker under here, lighter in the middle. So just because there's no grayscale drawn on this doesn't mean we can't include our own. There we go. I'm just seeing what we've missed. Nothing much. I'm just thinking about that sky, what colour to do it. I would quite like to do it in one plain colour and use the ultramarine and just do the whole sky in ultramarine blue. So I think I am going to do that. How are we doing? We've got 3 minutes. And I'll just show you how it looks with a little layer. I think it's quite a nice wintry colour. And if you just use one lightish, well, medium pressure layer, you can see paper through, which could make it look like there's snow in the sky. So, like that. Now I'm colouring this fast. But it's the end of this video, so whoops, try not to colour over the snow like I just did, so we can there's time after to catch up with this bit if I'm going too quick. Now with sky, it's best to go that way, not that way, unless you want it to look like it's raining, because if you get a bit of a liney look to it, which I'm not getting because of this paper texture is working to my advantage, if you do it in a vertical stripe, it looks like it's raining. I don't really want that look, but I'm trying to do it in a round and round movement, and my pencil isn't particularly sharp, which is helping me a lot. I was going to do this in pastel, but I just wanted this colour, and I knew that I don't know if I've got it in a pastel. I don't think I've got very many light blues in my pastel set that are this sort of shade. They're sort of turquoisey, I think, I'm trying to remember. So I just wanted this colour. As you can, hopefully you can see that the sort of sky looks whitish. I know I told you not to do it in this direction without turning my book. It's quite difficult not to. But I'm trying to keep going with my circles and trying to keep my pressure quite similar throughout, which isn't easy. I've had a lot of practice, and even though I have, it's not that easy. But sky isn't often the same colour all through, is it? But what I like about this blue is it's quite cold, which I think works with our wintry scene. is all good. I know I'm procrastinating doing the snow, but we will do it. Oh, that's not sky, that's the edge. So it doesn't take that long just to put on a layer. As I say, if you try and do it fairly even, you won't need to do a second one, but it just takes lots of practice. You have to remember that I have coloured every single day since 2013. I'm not sure when in 2013. So I've definitely had a lot of practice. And this set of pencils, my Polychromos, I got about a year after I started, so I've had them a really long time. So that makes a big difference too. I definitely feel like I'm more accomplished with this set than any other. So that makes a big difference. My desk is rattling. Now this is a colour that I might also use for shadow on snow in some pictures, but not this one. There we go. Okay, I think that's enough for today. What we'll do in the next, we've got our stockings and our baubles and our snow to go, so we haven't got too much left. I still don't know what I'm doing with the snow. I need to have a think. But for now, that's me. So thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day and happy colouring.